Welcome everyone. I can see we have a number of people joining at the moment. So we'll just give it a moment to let everyone in. But good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending where you are in the world. Thanks for joining us for this session on designing cash transfers for inclusion. Welcome to the discussions. Just a few housekeeping points first. So I'm Laura McLean. I'm a social development advisor with the social protection team at FCDO in the UK. Unfortunately, I don't think we yet have our interpreters with us, but hopefully they'll be joining very soon. And once they're there, interpretation and captioning will be available through Zoom, through the functions at the bottom of the screen, as with the previous sessions. So we're going to have 5 presenters today. So each will be making a brief presentation. We do have the Q&A feature open as well, so please do post any questions you have in there. And any questions that we can't answer during the discussions themselves, we'll come back to you by email afterwards. We do have quite a full schedule, so hopefully we can get through as much as possible. We also have the chat function open for any comments and technical issues that might come up during the discussions. So let's move swiftly on to the content of the session itself. Cash transfer programs and schemes contribute to fulfill 2 functions for people with disabilities: ensuring income security and covering disability-related extra costs across the life cycle. Reflecting on the diversity of contexts, this session will present how different countries design and adapt and combine mainstream and disability-specific cash transfer schemes and programs to progressively fulfill these 2 functions. As we've already heard in the introductory session, we're ultimately working towards universal disability support across the life cycle. To achieve that, we need a multi-layered system, of which cash is a foundational component. It's not the only component, which is why we have our parallel sessions on access to healthcare, and tomorrow on support across the different life cycle stages, including access to services. But cash is a critical foundation of the system. So throughout the discussions today, we'll be hearing from a number of speakers on how they've used different entry points and different pathways towards using cash transfers for inclusion. We have a really great panel with us today. I think we will have their names up on the screen. Perfect. So to kick off the session, I will hand over first to Amba Salelkar, who will be feeding back on the key asks from organisations of persons with disabilities on the development of cash transfer programmes and schemes. So over to you, Amba.
Thank you. At the outset, I have to apologise that I am presenting the key asks of organizations of persons with disabilities, but appears that there is no captioning and no sign language. We can go through the points again later, I think, if there is time for that. But very briefly, I'm here to talk. Okay, captioning is available. Good, that's good to know. Social protection does and can play a key role in reducing and preventing poverty, addressing inequalities, and creating resilience for people with disabilities against shocks and crises throughout their life cycles. And this can be achieved through regular and predictable cash transfers. In order to achieve universal cash transfers, systems and programs must be designed to cover both disability-related costs and basic income security for persons with disabilities. In order to determine whether a person with disability qualifies as a beneficiary under a specific cash transfer scheme, there has to be disability assessment. There is no presentation. It's just me. However, the complexity, length, lack of information accessibility, geographic distribution of assessment stations, and concerns around dignity and privacy, particularly for people whose disabilities are not apparent, can make disability assessment a major barrier for persons with disabilities to access cash transfer services. all persons with disabilities should be able to access mainstream cash transfer schemes through a combination of contributory and non-contributory schemes, as well as disability-specific cash transfers that cover both basic income security and disability-related costs for children, working age people, and also for older people with disabilities. When disability-specific schemes are available, it's very often that they are actually not sufficient to sustain a reasonable quality of living. Mainstream cash transfer programs have been generally seen to be inadequate, inaccessible, or unavailable for persons with disabilities in most countries. Even when they exist, they are rarely customized to the needs of persons with disabilities. For example, they may fail to account for disability-related costs, and others may have complicated application conditions, eligibility requirements, and evaluation processes that frequently exclude and sometimes even reject people with disabilities. Therefore, they need to adopt flexible conditions that can be tailored to accommodate the needs, the requirements of all persons with disabilities, also looking at intersections of gender, levels of support requirement, age, and other identities. We also need to make sure that payments of benefits can be distributed using a range of accessible ways, which include safeguards and removing restrictions. For example, restrictions on legal capacity to ensure that persons with disabilities who are the intended recipients actually get access to them. Thank you very much.
Great. Thanks for kicking us off, Amba. And apologies, we've had a slight delay in getting the interpreters in, but I think they are joining us now. So hopefully that'll be up and running in a moment. So I will hand over next. Can I just check that I don't think we have any colleagues from Zambia on the call, but please do jump in if I'm wrong. So I will move on next to Dr. Valentina Mulangeni, who is the Director of Social Protection Services in Namibia. So Dr. Valentina, can I hand over to you next, please?
Yes, I don't see my colleague is supposed to put the slides. I don't see the slides. Okay, thank you.
Can you see the slides up there now?
Yes, I do. So we do government of Namibia provides social grants to disabled and old age under the same act, National Pension Act number 10 of 1992. And also do provide for children. Maybe, I don't know, they don't change the slides. Slides are not changing. Nevertheless, We do, our legislative framework is under Article 95 of our Constitution. 95 sub-article G for talking about incapacitated, referring to the people living with disabilities. In order to provide them with necessary means for decent life. We do have child grant, disability grant for there's child grant for special child grant for children living with disability up to the age of 60. And those living with disability beyond the age of 16 up to the age of 60, when their grant, disability grant, automatically converts into old age grant, which is in the same amount, $1,300 million. And they all have funeral cover. The beneficiaries of our beneficiaries, you can see, we do have old age with disability, and because they're under the same act, disability and old age are under the same act, National Pension Act number 10, 1992. So we have a disability grants beneficiaries, as you can see, 48,473, and child grant is 341,101, and they all have funeral cover. That's our beneficiary in March 2022 for disability and special child grant. So we do transfer, what I didn't see this slide, where we do transfer the money into the bank accounts or post office or into the institutions taking care of the beneficiaries. So if you have any other questions, I can answer. Because we had to cut our presentation short due to the time limits, as we are told.
Many thanks, Valentina. That was really helpful. And please do post any questions, everyone, in the Q&A section, and we can always come back to them. If you can have specific questions for Valentina to hear more about that. But thank you. So we will move on next to Dushan Tomshik to hear about the steps made towards life cycle comprehensive disability support in North Macedonia. Great, so I will hand over to you, Dushan.
Hello. Did you hear me well? Yes. Hello?
That's very clear.
Yes, that's very clear. I think that we have translation from Macedonia to English. Yes. Okay, then I will switch to Macedonian then. Okay, it's okay. Пред се благодарам на можноста, нели, да се обратиме на овој настан и да ја прикажеме состојбата со поддршката што ја добиваат лицата со повреđеност во Северна Македонија. Next slide, please. Значи овде е прикажан животниот циклус на родителот и на лицето понатаму, детето понатаму лицето со попреченост. Значи со денот на раѓањето, родителот кој што нели добива дете, добива финансиски надоместок, така наречен родителски додаток, кој што се доделува за прво, второ и трето родено дете во нашата држава. Понатаму до 18 годишна возраст родителот има право и на детски додаток. Иако се работи за дете со некој вид на попреченост, тогаш следува така наречен посебен додаток кој што се остварува од 0 до 26 години. Точно ако семејството на лицето со попреченост е во некој вид на социјален ризик, тогаш му следува гарантирана минимална помош. И лицата до 26 години со попреченост се ослободени од трошоци во здравствениот сектор. Понатаму, по навршена 18 годишна возраст, лицата со попреченост, ако се активни баратери на работа, имаат пристап до активните мерки на пазарот на трудот. Ако идат во заштитено вработување, има еден посебен фонд кој што нели ги плаќа врските кон заштитните компании. Во однос на компензација на попреченоста, има право на парично право кое што се вика право заради попреченост. Да, и тоа се однесува на сите видови на попреченост. Со што нели се компензира трошокот на лицето кое што се случува поради нели намалената функционалност негова. Потоа има уште едно право кое што се вика парична помош за нега од трето лице, која што се добива доколку се грижите за некое лице кое што има одредена потреба. И на крајот, доколку сте родител кој што сте се грижеле за своето дете и лице и за тоа не сте засновале работен однос, и немате години работен стаж како основ за пензија, со навршени 64 и 65 години за жени и за маж, вие остварувате право на така наречена социјална пензија. Next slide, please. Значи, ова се правата кои што беа опишани во кругот на животот. Да, и се така структурирани да го следат лицето од нула, нели, до крајот на неговиот живот. Она што е битно за паричните права за лицата со попреченост е дека тие не се врзани со приходите на самото лице или на семејството. Значи овие права го компензираат, нели, ја компензираат попреченоста на лицето и неговата неможност за полноправно учество во општеството. Со реформата од 2019 година и новиот закон за социјална заштита и измените на законот за детска заштита, значи изголемено е правото за скратено, значи се добива парична помош за скратено работно време на родител кој што се грижи за своето дете кој што има некаква попреченост. Да, и пола плата ја дава работодавецот за тие 4 часа. А пола од висината на платата се исплаќа преку Центарот за социјална работа, со што се овозможува на родителот да има повеќе време да се грижи за детето со попреченост. Така, next slide, please. Значи, ова се исто така правата кои што беа споменати на првиот слайд, да не се повторувам. Значи, она што е многу битно во последните 2-3 години што се случува во Македонија е дека е променет начинот на гледање на попреченоста. Значи, од медицински модел се преминува на така наречениот, нели, социјален модел или моделот на што може лицето да направи. Значи, формирани се нови комисии кои што работат по меѓународна класификација на функционалности. И во прво време сега тие работат најповеќе со децата и со учениците кои што треба да посетуваат редовна настава. И врз основа на оваа класификација која што ја прават немедицински лица и определуваат преостаната за функционалност на децата и учениците. И врз основа на таа проценка се определуваат поддршката и правата кои што се обезбедуваат преку Законот за социјална заштита, преку Законот за детска заштита, Законот за основно образование и Законот за здравствена заштита. Во иднина сакаме овој начин, нели, на проценка на потребите да го прошириме и на возрастните лица со попреченост, моделот на определување на нивната работна способност. И се планира носење на нов закон за вработување на лица со попреченост, кој што нели сите овие работи ќе ги има во предвид. Okay, next slide, please. Значи, покрај паричните права, со новиот закон за социјална заштита, значи, промовирани се многу голем број на сервиси кои што не се парични, туку се конкретна услуга кон самиот корисник. Значи, тука најповеќе развиена услугата за лична асистенција, и услугата помош и нега во домот. И понатаму, да, голем фокус е ставен на развивање на сервиси во заедницата, како центри за самостојно живење со поддршка, центри за одмена на домашната нега или респајт центрите, дневните центри. Бидејќи ние сме во еден сериозен процес на деинституционализација, каде што сакаме да ги трансформираме сите институции кои што згрижуваат лица со попреченост во државата, и од таа причина развиваме сервиси во локалната заедница. Значи, во нашата држава повеќе нема деца до 18 години кои што се сместени во установа или институција. Значи, можеме да кажеме дека за скоро 2,5 години бројот на сместени деца и лица во институција намален за 50% и сите тие живеат во локалните заедници со поддршка, нели, на локалните сервиси. Okay, next slide, please. Next slide. Добро, ова се резултатите кои што ги кажав и сега, за да не мора повторно, нели, да одзимам од времето, бидејќи има и други презентери, но значи, она што е нашата крајна цел е паричните права, значи да направиме реформа на системот каде што паричните права кои што се однесуваат за лицата со попреченост да бидат врзани со нивната функционалност. И мислам дека паричните права не се единственото решение, бидејќи без услуги во заедницата каде што овие лица живеат, парите сами по себе не се доволни. thank you very much. If you have some questions, I'm here to answer on the question. Thank you.
Many thanks for the presentation. It's really interesting to hear about how the steps you're making towards more comprehensive lifecycle support. And apologies to everyone. I know there was some issues with the audio at the beginning there, so I hope you managed to hear the presentation. And I see there's quite a lot of interest coming in comments and questions in learning from the work that's going on in North Macedonia. So please do put any other questions in there, and we'll either have a chance to come to them at the end or we'll get back to you afterwards. So thank you, Dushan. So we'll move on next to our next presenter from Fiji. Has not been able to join us in person because of the time zone differences. So they've kindly pre-recorded a video message for us. So I think, are we able to get the video up on the screen? Perfect.
I would like to acknowledge the invitation to share Fiji's experience on the consultation and collaboration between the Fijian government mechanisms and organizations of and for persons with disability with regards to Fiji's social protection scheme for persons with disabilities. As a background, social protection schemes have been available in Fiji for over 4 decades. The original schemes were primarily to support families needing assistance and meeting the following criteria. There were older persons without a source of income, prisoner dependents, death of a breadwinner, permanently disabled, having a chronic illness, or were single parents. Around the year 2009, the existing schemes were reviewed, resulting in the Family Assistance Scheme being replaced with the current Poverty Benefit Scheme, or PBS, and also the expansion of the criteria of the Care and Protection Scheme, CPS, from only kinship care to also include single-headed household. For example, it is now also it includes prisoner dependents and single mothers or fathers. The Senior Citizen Pension Scheme, SPS, maintains its obligation to senior citizens. These changes were implemented as per the World Bank recommendations in 2009 following the Household Income Expenditure Survey. During this period in 2009, the national OPDs, led by the Fiji Disabled People's Federation, the umbrella organizations of and for persons with disabilities, with their affiliate organizations and national disability service providers, were collaborating and advocating for the ratification of the UNCRPD, to which Fiji had been a signatory in 2010. This advocacy was further strengthened by the OPDs as Fiji signed the insurance strategy in 2012. The national OPDs advocated focusing on the "Nothing About Us Without Us" slogan in all its national campaigns. By 2013, OPDs were being consulted on issues and topics that were disability specific or disability related. This included the drafting of the domestic disability legislation, which finally was enacted in 2018, the Rights of Persons with Disability Act 2018. It was also during this period that OPDs advocated extensively for the support to persons with disabilities relating to their disability extra cost. The establishment of the Disability Unit in 2016 within the Disability Line Ministry springboarded the importance and benefits of consulting OPDs and persons with disabilities on issues and programs that were specific or relevant to disability. In early 2016, as a result of the collaboration and consultative engagement of this on disability and livelihood, the context of disability extra cost were extensively discussed. As a result, the unit was tasked to review existing social protection schemes, its support to and for persons with disabilities and their families. The collaborative efforts between the Disability Unit and the national OPDs resulted in the piloting of the Disability Allowance Scheme initiative in 2016, using the criteria that was agreed from the consultative and collaborative efforts. The collaborative efforts between the Disability Unit and national OPDs resulted in the piloting of the Disability Allowance Scheme initiatives in 2016, using the criteria that was agreed from the consultative and collaborative discussions. One, that all persons with disabilities should qualify to apply and receive support irrelevant of economic status. That persons with disabilities, two, that persons with disabilities who are employed also qualify to apply. Three, it is open to all impairment groups. The Disability Allowance Scheme indicates that persons with disabilities supported through the scheme having a better success rate in maintaining employment. There are current gaps in the scheme that have been identified by the OPDs and have initiated advocacy to these. An example is that no one person qualifies for 2 monthly social protection cash transfer schemes. This simply means that a person with a disability in a family setting living below the poverty line will qualify for the Disability Allowance Scheme, while another family member qualifies the family for the Poverty Benefit Scheme. However, a person with a disability living independently and below the poverty line will have to choose for either the Disability Allowance Scheme or the Poverty Benefit Scheme, as no one person currently qualifies for both. The current figures since the establishment of the Disability Allowance Scheme is budgetary allocation for the 2017-2018 financial year of $7,974,736. This included the budget to establish the Disability Allowance Scheme systems and structures. Since 2018-2019 financial year, the allocation has been expanded annually and currently sits at $10,788,541, supporting 9,584 recipients as of January 2022. The mutual respect for each other's space was not compromised. It strengthened during the consultation processes between the OPDs and government mechanisms. The different department heads from both entities, both government and disability, consulted and collaborated using a roundtable setup where individuals contributed equally on the different discussions with one collective goal. What is the appropriate approach to social protection support through a disability lens? And it is crucial to ensure that this process was actually undertaken as to provide voices from persons with disability and respecting their lived experience and the challenge that they go through on a daily life. As the outcomes of the consultations journeyed up the ministerial and government systems, the responsibility rested on the government counterparts from the consultation to champion the outcomes of the consultation in these forums. This simply meant that as the discussions or as the paper trail made its journey up the government rankings of the government systems, it was the responsibility of the Disability Unit of the National Council for Disability Secretariat then to champion these, to ensure that the results or the outcomes of the consultation actually becomes a reality. At the same time, the disability representatives also champion and acknowledge the collaborative approach in their media releases and representative engagement with relevant stakeholders on the discussion of social protection. They use whatever platform was made available to them to actually acknowledge and to inform the media platforms in relation to the collaborative efforts and the consultation and looking forward to the agreed outcomes. Further to this, ensuring that the parties maintained their commitment to an appropriate social protection that was aligned to the disability extra cost rather than the measured simply on poverty, and categorize those who qualify and those who do not qualify aside from their impairment or the different impairment groups. This is a testament to the benefits of consulting and collaborate with OPDs on national initiatives that are disability related. To date, all disability related initiatives are consulted with the OPDs, including expanding on the social protection programs. economic empowerment programs for disability as one. 2. Housing assistance scheme for retrofitting for accessibility to and for persons with disabilities. Thank you.
Thanks to the team there for sharing the video, and to our colleagues in the Pacific for sending that through. So I think we do have a little bit of time now for some question and answer at the end of the session. I see, thank you to everyone who's been posting questions in the chat. I have a few, I see, for Dushan with interest in the programs in North Macedonia. So if I may, Dushan, I'll come back to you. So there was a couple questions just for clarifications on the programs, just to understand the difference between the social allowance for 0 to 26 and the disability supplement for 26 to 65, and to clarify whether the cash supplement for assistance is also available when the carer is a family member for 26 plus. And then there's a second, slightly a bigger question around what the government's initiatives are for sustainability around financing for the different programs introduced. So if you have any insights you'd be able to share, I'm sure those would be much appreciated. If that's okay, if I come to you.
Okay, thank you for the question. I think that the translation also is available now, yes? Добро. Значи, за делот од барањата линкови до стратегијата за деинституционализација и законот за социјална заштита, гледам дека колегата Александар Николов од Унице веќе ги проследи на. Разликата помеѓу посебниот додаток кој што е од 0 до 26 и додатокот за попреченост од 26 до 4. Е тоа што тие се даваат согласно два различни закона. Првото е согласно законот за заштита на децата, а вториот е по закон за социјална заштита. Има барања од заедницата на лицата со попреченост, значи да се тргне оваа граница и да се унифицираат овие две права во едно. Во последните 2-3 години имаше направено обиди и анализи да се излезе во пресрет нова барање, но сепак не се најде соодветно решение. Но се надевам дека во иднина ќе биде и ова надминато, за да не се лимитираат лицата по однос на возраста и правата да не се остваруваат согласно возраста на лицата. Во однос на одржливоста на сервисите и на изнодење на средства за одржливост, можам да кажам дека како што се почна со процесот деинституционализација, првото нешто што беше направено, се отвори буџетска компонента, буџетска ставка, која што се вика со тоа име и на која што нели би требало да се гледаат финансиските средства кои што ги обезбедува државата. Значи, со процесот на деинституционализација, ние постепено ги намалуваме финансиските средства кои што се одлеваат кон институциите. А за сметка на тоа префрламе средства на ставката за сервиси во заедница. И исто така имаме поддршка од заем на Светска банка, кој што се однесува за развој на социјални услуги во локална заедница. И исто така имаме проекти поддржани од страна на Европската Унија, кои што нели го помагаат овој процес. Исто така со новиот закон за социјална заштита воведовме нов начин на плаќање на услугата. Значи, изработивме методологија за определување на цената на чинење на една услуга по час и по ден. И врз основа на таа цена, државата сега е купувач на услугите од приватни даватели на услуги или од граѓански организации. Значи, со истите финансиски средства кои што ги даваме за обезбедување на услугата на самиот корисник, на другата страна, во делот на давателот на услугата, вработуваме луѓе. Така да, може да кажеме дека на долг рок ние правиме, да кажеме, еднакво трошиме, значи не е зголемен премногу трошокот за овие процеси. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Dushan. That was really helpful clarification. So I'm conscious of time here, and apologies that we are running very slightly over. Just before we bring it to a close, I would like to go back to Amba, because I realized we didn't have interpretation at the beginning of the session. So if it's possible, Amba, can I come back to you if there's anything else you would like to add?
No, I think that, it's, I think there have been some really good examples which have been shared here around disability, inclusion, and where we can be moving in a progressive direction. And I think that's pretty much about it, but I'm glad that the interpreters were able to join us. Thank you.
Great, thanks. And yeah, brilliant. We got the interpreters there. So we are just running over time, so I will bring us to a close and look forward to continuing some of these discussions tomorrow during the rest of the sessions. Any questions that you are posting that we haven't had a chance to come to, we will come back to you via email, and recordings will also be available at socialprotection.org and on the YouTube channel. I do invite you all also to check out the event agenda and join sessions tomorrow. And also the networking area is open for the whole event and for 2 hours after this session and for 2 hours after the end of the sessions tomorrow. So you can join that by clicking on the link on the top menu on the socialprotection.org page. And the event also has virtual booths with projects related to social protection and disability. And some of those have specific sessions as an opportunity for networking and discussion. So do look those up in the agenda, and you can join them also on the link on virtual talks at the top of the menu. So finally, many thanks again to all of our speakers for really insightful and interesting presentations, and to all of you for joining and participating in the session. Hope to see many of you tomorrow, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.